Okay, this is an overview of the rainwater collection system. The water comes off the standing seam metal roof, comes into these gutters. They're on four sides of the house, comes into a washer, so that debris falls into the washer, and then supposedly clean water comes up the top and comes down into a piping system that heads down to the main cistern. So the water comes from the house down through this white pipe into this first cistern here, which is connected to so the water will settle out on that. And then it'll come down the hill into the pipe into this big 2,500 gallon cistern at that end. So this is the water comes into this tank, and then to get it out of this tank, there's a sequence of events that you have to do. This valve is in the off position now, and it needs to be turned on. This valve is open. It says open to collect, closed to pump. If you don't close this when you're pumping, it'll just recycle back into the tank. So you turn this one to off in the off position, and this valve turned on as well. Then you've got all the valves turned on. Then you come over and hit this switch. And that's that for now. This is the main valve that switches from pumping to the tank or collection. It's in the, I use the same pipe for both. So you have to come over here and it says open to pump, which we're pumping now, and close to collect. So we're in the pumping mode. You've got to reach, this is kind of deep down here. You got to turn this valve on. And then if you you open the valve and then bring it back down a little bit, you can feel water running through it. It makes a vibration. So it's in the on position now. And this pumps it up to a tank up the hill. So this is the main pressure tank that pumps up from here. And there's a inside here is a water meter. And if you zoom in on it, you can see that it's running backwards. And that means it's filling the tank up. Flag here indicates the water level, but it's in the inverse of what you would think. If it's up here, the tank is empty. If it's down at the bottom, the tank is full because there's a little float inside there. Over here, well, this is a main banjo valve. And anytime you're operating these valves, you want to do it slowly. You don't want to make it fast. And then this one, I usually leave closed, but you can also open it and it'll fill water up through the top. But coming in through the bottom's fine. This valve here is to the secondary tank, the backup tank over there. And so there's a closed valve here. So if you use the secondary water, you want to close this valve and open that one. Otherwise, the water will just go into this tank, or they'll equalize between the two tanks. If the tank is empty up at the top, it takes about 2 hours to fill it completely up. And when you've you don't have to fill it up, but when you're done filling it, this is the shutdown method. Is you come back to this valve, the same valve, and you close it. Okay. Okay, this is the reverse thing. You don't, once that valve's closed, you don't want to run this very long because the water will just be pushing against that valve and not good for this pump. So you'll burn the pump out if you have that shut off for very long. So you want to come down here as quickly as you can and shut this off first. And then it really doesn't matter which order you shut these off, which is like whatever. That goes in off. This one goes into. Okay, so we're pretty much done with collecting this time of year. So you can leave this one in the off position to pump right now. But in the rainy season, when you're collecting water, you're gonna want to open that back up to collect water. This is a shared well for 3394 Marsh and 3390 Marsh. It's well number 2. And to turn it on, you go to this box here. Here's a latch at the bottom. Pull on the latch, and it slips down, and then you open it up. And then flip these breakers up. You can hear a little bit of noise going there, and you'll know it's working if you put your hand on this check valve and it feels cold. So water's pumping out of that. And it goes up to a tank. You can just see the top of it up the top of the hill. It pumps up to that tank. This is for the shut off. When you're done pumping, there isn't an automatic flow switch on. You just leave it on, it will overflow the tank. So you have to kind of guess or watch it. But you're ready to shut it off. Just come back, put the breaker down, close the door, and lift it up. And that's that. So here's the main storage tank. Pump is running. It fills up the tank from here. This one marked 3 inches. Goes back down for domestic use and hose bibs down on the flat there. This big one here is a fire supply line. This is where the water pipe comes down through this ravine, and there's a valve here, and this is a vent. If this line ever goes dry, you need to vent the air out of it from here, and then so there's no air in the line. And the other thing too is this will, if there's dirt in the tank, this will help flush that out. Because I've turned this on before and it's just come out rusty brown colored. This is the valve from the well. It's usually normally closed. Because of the elevation difference, the temperature is, or the pressure is ridiculously high, probably 150 pounds, which is too much for this whole system. But you can use it to fill these water tanks if need be. So right inside here is another valve. Don't use this unless you're you're attentive to the thing, because it'll the water pressure is so high that water will just go everywhere. So it's really just a backup system for the when there's not if there's not enough rainwater. The red valve only controls this hose bib and another hose bib on the other side. I usually leave it in the off position because I don't use these hose bibs. Okay, this is a secondary collection system off of this workshop roof. It's down and fills this up here, just one shutoff valve right down here. And it's connected just a 3/4 inch pipe that runs back down to the other tank. So this one doesn't collect nearly as much water as the other ones because it's a smaller roof system. These valves here, elbow up here that you can connect, a big water line to, that I'm not using. This one over here, it controls the water running down the road that way. I usually just leave them off. Okay, these valves here, one of them goes that way down towards there's a hose bib at the end, but there's a broken pipe on this line and I usually leave it shut off. The center one, or the other one, goes to out by the campsite to another tank I've got out there. The tank, it's really a reserve water tank, and it's just it's usually shut off, but it runs two hose bibs, one in the behind the snake and the rattlesnake sign is another valve that only controls a hose bib down in the campground area. And theoretically, that tank, you turn all the other valves on, you can run and turn the other tanks off. You can feed water to the house if need be, but I've never done it. This is what I call the yellow line, and it's just for irrigation. And I can fill those tanks from this valve here from the other water lines, but I usually keep this shut off because if you leave this on, it'll overflow these other tanks. So you turn this on and you have to keep an eye on these tanks as you fill them up. Valve here, normally closed, and you reach, this one's kind of deep, and you reach down in there and turn it, and it'll fill the tanks as well. So there's some room for improvement here, but I'm eventually going to connect all these tanks together, and when I have extra water, this will just be for the irrigation. It goes to irrigate the avocados and some other valves down below. Yellow line. What are you whining about? This valve here will shut off this hose bib and the ones down in the garden down below. This is the yellow line, but I forgot to paint it.